There's this interesting phenomenon where people who try hardest in relationships can actually be the ones who feel least loved. It's something I see in my work, and the answer isn't what most people would expect. In this video, I'm going to show you the specific behaviors that keep feeling locked in place around lovability and how to start shifting them. So I see this fairly consistently in the people I work with. The people who struggle most with feeling unlovable usually aren't the ones you'd expect. They are successful, high achieving, on the surface, maybe even look like they have everything together, yet they're always working to earn their place. They would never call it feeling unlovable. They'd never use that word, but the behaviors are there. And the gap between how capable they are in every other area of their life and how they show up in love is striking. So first, what are we actually talking about when we say feeling unlovable? It's not a conscious belief most of the time. It's this deeper mental model that forms early, often so early you can't remember life without it. And it develops from environments where love felt conditional, where we had to perform for it or be a certain way to receive it. And over time, the belief that becomes encoded underneath all these layers is, I am not enough as I am. Love is something I have to deserve. That belief doesn't stay in the head. It bleeds into your behavior. And here's where it gets interesting, because the behaviors it creates are ones most people would never connect to feeling unlovable. Before I get into these hidden behaviors, if you want to understand your own relationship patterns more clearly, I created a free quiz called What's Your Relationship Blind Spot? It takes a few minutes and it'll show you the specific pattern that's been running your relationships, the one that's hard to see because you're inside of it. The link is in the description. Check it out after this video. So what do these behaviors actually look like? Well, let's break each one down. First, there's over giving. So this looks like constantly doing more, giving more, showing up maybe more than the other person, not because you want to, which is different, but because somewhere underneath you believe your value has to be proven. It goes something like, if I give enough, I'll be worth keeping, I'll be lovable. Then there is accepting less than you deserve. So maybe tolerating partners who are inconsistent, unavailable, or dismissive, not because you don't notice this, but because some part of you believes this is what you're worth. Then there are covert contracts. This is a big one. You do something for your partner, not freely, but with this unspoken expectation attached. It goes something like, if I give this, they will give that back. If I'm this person, they'll love me. This contract is never said out loud, but when it's broken, the resentment is very real. And then there is performing instead of connecting. So showing up as this impressive, capable, put together version of yourself because the real version doesn't feel safe to show. So here's the problem with all these behaviors. They feel like love. They look like love from the outside, and they could be, except these are actually strategies, ways of managing the fear of not being enough. There's nothing wrong with freely given. These are given with hoping to get something in return, usually not even consciously. And it creates this painful paradox. The more you do, the less love you actually feel, because deep down, the connection isn't real. It's conditional based on performance or giving. And these covert contracts lead to resentment. The over-giving leads to exhaustion. The performing keeps us from ever truly being seen. And the belief underneath never gets challenged because we never stop long enough to question what is going on in the first place. And if we grew up seeing that this is love, then we might understandably believe that how we're showing up, how we're giving is just what love is. But there's who we are without the performance, without having to overgive, right? So if these behaviors are keeping you stuck, what is actually underneath them and how do you start to shift it? This is the part I want you to hear. The behavior is not the problem. It is the symptom, and underneath it is a belief. And underneath the belief is an emotional experience that got encoded a long time ago. It's like we are all nesting dolls or onions with lots of layers. The belief that love that has to be earned, it's not a character flaw. It's a logical conclusion a younger version of us drew from the environment we were in. So imagine a child who only gets praised when they get straight A's. They don't consciously decide I'm only lovable when I achieve. They just learn that by being in the environment. And then they spend, I don't know, the next 20, 30 years achieving in work and relationships everywhere, trying to feel enough. That behavior made sense once, but it just doesn't serve them anymore. So what happens if the behaviors go unexamined? Here is the issue. You keep attracting relationships that confirm the belief. Partners who maybe take more than they give, dynamics where you're always working harder than the other person, or you're just showing up and doing that anyway, and they don't really get to know the real you. And then the resentment builds, the exhaustion builds, and eventually you either shut down emotionally or you keep cycling through the same relationships with different people. And the cruelest part is that the love you do receive never quite lands, because underneath you likely believe you don't deserve it. Maybe compliments don't fully land or affection feels uncomfortable. Maybe we're always waiting for that other shoe to drop, and none of it changes until that mental model deep underneath changes. So what does it look like to actually shift this? So first, starting to notice the behaviors without judgment, not I'm broken, but that's interesting. Why did I do that? Curiosity, not criticism. Second, starting to question the contract. When you feel resentment, ask, what did I expect in return for what I gave? Resentment is data, and it's likely telling you there was this unspoken deal. And then third, this is the deeper work. The belief, the mental model itself needs to change, not just the behavior. And beliefs that formed through emotional experience like these need to be shifted through emotional experience, not just intellectual understanding. And this is where hypnotherapy does what thinking alone cannot. Now, if any of these behaviors felt familiar, the overgiving, the covert contracts, the performing, that is worth paying attention to. But here's the thing, noticing that behavior is a great first step. However, the belief underneath it needs to change too, and that's not something you can think your way out of. This is exactly the work I do with clients one-on-one. We go beneath the behavior, beneath the beliefs, all the way to where it actually started, and we update it from the inside out. So you go from unconsciously self-sabotaging a relationship to actually attracting that secure, lasting love we all look for. So the link to work with me directly is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.